The 25-26 Ashes series has come to an end with Australia claiming a pretty straightforward 4-1 victory over England, despite the fact that England were on the receiving end of a quite heavy defeat yet again, and the fact that obviously the matches were being played in Australia, meaning due to the time difference, I didn't get to watch as much of the cricket as I would have liked. I still actually thoroughly enjoyed the series. It had everything you want from a test match: drama, controversy, highs, lows, some standout performances. I do think, given the build-up to the tournament and how much hype was surrounding it, it somewhat delivered. England may not have delivered, but the excitement delivered, if that makes sense. Anyway, now that the tournament is over, it feels fitting for the first kind of long video on this channel to be a team of the series. So with that in mind, where else can we begin other than one of our opening batsmen, Travis Head. Promoted to opener to fill a role which the Aussies were unsure about going into the series, Travis actually ended up taking the place of Usman Khawaja, whereas people thought he might have taken the place instead of Jake Weatherald. Due to Khawaja's injuries, he ended up not playing, I think, 1 or 2 tests, and then he was bumped later down into the order, and Head remained opener from I think the 2nd test onwards, maybe the 3rd. Either way, he had 2 incredible 150 plus scores. He was the highest run scorer across any player in the series with 629, averaging 66, and he had the highest strike rate of all players as well, at just under 88, which, by the way, is the highest strike rate of any player in any Ashes series ever. Plus, he's got a great mustache. Who's going to join him at the other end? A somewhat controversial pick, but I'll obviously explain why. Zak Crawley. Yes, I'm just as surprised as you are. He's only really here because the other 2 options kind of had stinkers. Jake Weatherald was obviously on debut, or debut as the Aussies say, and he did okay, but it doesn't look like he's going to be the opening batter they were looking for going into the future. As for Ben Duckett, he had moments of brilliance. He had some really nice shots that he played through the covers, as Ben Duckett does, but none of his innings really went anywhere, and he kind of gave his wicket away cheaply on several occasions. So despite picking up a pair in Perth, it took me 3 attempts to say that, Crawley's into my team of the series. In at number 3, similar to Crawley because he's kind of the best of a bad-ish situation, I'm going to put Marnus Labuschagne. My heart says to put Bethel into the team because of that incredible, 154, something like that. But it seems a bit silly to put a player into the team of the series when they only played 1 game of the 5-game series. Marnus was good in the field, he picked up 1 or 2 quite ridiculous wickets, and he was all right with the bat. So for that reason, he's my number 3 pick. At number 4, doesn't really need any introduction, nor does he need any explanation. It's Joe Root. Finally, that no centuries in Australia monkey is well and truly off his back, having picked up 2, and at times he looked like the only England batter capable of putting together a good innings. So obviously at number 4 is Joe Root. Coming in at number 5 is Australia's stand-in captain for 4 of the 5 tests, Steve Smith. Smith was a fantastic stand-in captain for Cummins while he was injured, and he kind of went a little bit underappreciated and under the radar, at least in England, and that's probably because we're kind of trained to hate Steve Smith, but in reality, he did an exceptional job. He looked good with the bat throughout the series. He got 100 to put the final nail in the coffin of England on day 3 of the 5th test, I think it was, and he pretty much out-captained Ben Stokes in almost every area. At number 6, a wicket-keeping performance to outdo all wicket-keeping performances, it's Alex Carey. In the fight between Carey and Smith to be wearing the gloves in my team of the series, it couldn't really be any more one-sided. Carey looked absolutely rock solid in all 5 tests, whether it be hanging back for the fast bowlers or indeed coming up to the stumps for when Boland was in. He played some great innings with the bat as well, to the point where he outscored every England player except for Joe Root. If I was to rank the Australia players in like the top 10 most impactful on this Ashes series, I might do something like that. Then I would put Carey at number 3, just behind Travis Head and someone else who's coming up very shortly. Overall, he just had a great series, and like I said, it was a wicket-keeping performance to end all wicket-keeping performances. At number 7, this is arguably where my team gets a little bit too specialist, as I don't have any genuine all-rounders in the side. But at number 7, I could look nowhere else other than at Mitchell Starc. And as I just hinted at, yes, if I am to do a top 10 list, Starc is easily number one in that list for me. Going back to the point about not having any all-rounders, Starc actually picked up more half-centuries with the bat than either of England's openers, and he bowled, in a word, sensationally. He was completely unplayable at times, and he spearheaded an Australian attack which, on this side of the media and the press, was dubbed the reserve Australian side and an undercooked Australian side. Well, Mitchell Starc took that side by the scruff of the neck and showed the world how fast bowling is done. Despite the injuries of his usual bowling partners in Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood, Starc played a magnificent series throughout. He really staked a claim to be considered as an all-rounder moving forward because of his great knocks with the bat, and for me, he was undoubtedly player of the series. At number 8, probably the first controversial choice, but I'm going to go for Jofra Archer. Archer unfortunately got injured after the third test in Adelaide, but he was easily England's best bowler up till that point. Not only was he England's best bowler, but the 50 he scored with Stokes to kind of just give us the hope when we least expected it in the Adelaide game was sublime given the conditions he was facing. And in that match, he also picked up a fifer. Were it not for the injury, it seems almost undoubtable that Jofra Archer would have gone on to be England's leading wicket taker for the series instead of Bryden Carse. At number 9, I'm going to go for Michael Neser, part of Australia's so-called reserve batting lineup, a relative unknown over here when he was announced as part of the squad. But Neser played like a man who'd been on this stage 100 times before. Sure, he wasn't quite as headline as Starc, but no one was. And in the absence of, as I say, Hazlewood and Cummins, Neser deputised perfectly. He took one fifer, came very close 2 more times, and he did something that no England bowler could really seem to do, which was bowl consistent line and lengths and just be a very good fast bowler. And sticking with the Aussie quicks, at number 10, Scott Boland. Boland's probably my third favourite Aussie player behind Travis Head and Marnus Labuschagne, just because Marnus is a bit mental and I love that about him. Scotty Boland might just be Australia's best ever fast bowler who isn't considered one of their best ever. I'm not really making sense, but basically I think the guy is hugely underrated. His economy rate was 3.12, which was the best of almost any bowler throughout the entire series. And quite frankly, Boland was everything that England's bowlers weren't. He was consistent, he was adaptable, he was ruthless, and at times he was quite simply unplayable. Finally, rounding off my team, I'm going to go for Josh Tongue. Along with Jacob Bethel, who admittedly narrowly missed out on being in my team of the series, Tongue remains England's biggest shoulda, woulda, coulda kind of this entire Ashes. What if he'd played all 5 tests? What if he was considered better than Carse? What if he'd been given more chances earlier in his career? Are all questions that could have led to Josh Tongue being England's standout bowler of this series, maybe other than Archer if he'd not been injured, but you kind of see the point I'm going for. He bowled beautifully at times, and he also shook off this notion that he's just like a tail end specialist, which I feel like is something he picked up in last summer in 2025, the summer series against India, where he was admittedly very good at cleaning up the India tail enders, but I think he showed in this series that there's far more to him than just being the final guy to come in and clear up the tail. He took 1 fifer and he had England's second most wickets throughout the series despite not playing in all 5 tests. And I think the guy should have been played more. Anyway, that's my team of the series. I really would love to know what you guys think, not only of my choices, but what would yours be? So let me know in the comments. I'm probably going to do a few more Ashes summary videos. I'll maybe do some player ratings and kind of go through who I think is finished and who's, one to watch for the future, that kind of thing. It's a very new channel and I would love it if you would subscribe and stick around for more content. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you soon.